I'm going to take say a few words about passive aggressive communication. And I'm not talking about the passive aggressive communication where somebody is trying to couch an insult in sugar. So, for example, saying something like, wow, you really are brave to wear that outfit, right? You're really saying, uh, that's a really terrible outfit, or it's really inappropriate, and you're trying to make it sound like you're saying something sweet and nice. Or, wow, this is a really nice starter home. You know, that's passive aggressive, right? You're saying this home isn't great, but if it's your first home, it's not bad, right? Or shame you couldn't get better, but for your first, this is a good go. It's good for a first home. It's not good, but it's good for a first home, right? That's when you are really being insulting, really being cruel, and you're trying to be covert about it and hide your cruelty, to cloak your insult or your cruelty in something a little softer and sweet. So, what I'm talking about today is passive aggressive communication, where somebody is just, it comes off as passive aggressive to someone else. And what's really going on is that you are struggling to be direct in your communication. And most likely because you have learned, life has taught you that you could not be direct about your emotions, not about your communication, but it's most essentially under that, you could not be direct about your emotions. And that is likely that in your family of origin, you learned that you could maybe have your emotions internally, keep them to yourself though. But when you try to express your emotions or your needs or your preferences, that you would get shut down. Those your needs, your emotions would get invalidated. You're not entitled. You would get a negative reaction. They would either be overtly invalidated, like you don't feel that way, or sorry, no, no crying in this house. This house has no room for babies. Or somebody would just respond with a lot of anger about your emotion. Often, and I'll repeat this, often we are told, which is mind blowing to me, that somebody could literally tell you, a parent may tell you, you don't feel that way. How can you tell somebody how they feel, right? So, always a bad idea. You can never say you don't feel that way. So, as an adaptive response to that, you may end up being the adult that is not direct about how you feel, is not direct about communicating what you want and need in a situation or from somebody, and particularly from an intimate partner, even if it's just a close friend or a romantic partner. So how you communicate ends up being passive aggressive. And one example of this is, let's say you and your partner, you have your anniversary of being together. And your assumption is, and your expectation is, you're going to spend the entire day together. And you find out that your partner thought that you would just be spending the morning together, or you would be spending the whole day apart, but you would go out for dinner that night. You just have different expectations. So when you find out that your partner only had planned to spend part of a Saturday, part of your, let's say your anniversary is on a day that you both have off work. So expectations can be different in that regard. So your partner, you find out, only plans to go to dinner. And they're going to go golfing he's going to go golfing with his buddies, or she's going to go shopping with her girlfriends, and you guys would do dinner together on your anniversary. And the other one of you thought that you'd be, Saturday, that we would be spending the whole day together. So, what you say in response to finding out that your partner only plans to spend part of the day with you, what you say is, oh, well, I just thought we'd be spending the whole day together. And this is similar to a situation that occurred to me, that was presented to me in a session with a client. And so when you say that, oh, I thought that we'd be spending the whole day together, If your partner perceives that as judgment, or, and says kind of in response to that, well, gee, thanks for the guilt trip, you know, it's because you weren't direct. So if you feel like you are getting consistent feedback, these one offs are going to happen. And that doesn't sound like the worst crime, right? It's just saying, oh, I thought we would spend the whole day together. But there is an implication there that there is, that the other person was wrong, and that you were right and your expectation was right, but the other person was wrong and they were being uncaring, right? That you're suggesting to them that they were making the wrong decision there. And they may take that as feeling like you were throwing them guilt, right, or throwing them shade somehow. And that may not be the most perfect example, but I think it's illustrative enough. So if you are getting consistent feedback that you come off passive aggressive because you have learned in life that you could not have your emotions and express your emotions without them being invalidated, then, and you pretty much can't shoot from the hip and just say what you're going to say, because often it's going to come out passive aggressively. Here's the antidote to that. Here's my suggestion for you. Take a moment of pause. Pay attention, particularly if you're feeling irritated or angry or frustrated, and that shooting from the hip, just saying what you want to say, is probably not going to land right. Take a pause, take a beat, and really give yourself the privilege, the right, be entitled to think about how you feel, to think about, to address, to identify what is my need here, what is my want, what is my preference, what is my desire, and give yourself the right to have that and to identify that, to recognize that, and then communicate your emotion. Oh, I'm really disappointed. I'm sad. That's okay. You can have your emotion. That's not an attack. That is not aggressive. That is not any form of aggression. That is not a passive form of aggression. To say I'm disappointed or I'm sad or that bums me out is okay. You're allowed to feel that way. To have your want, your preference, your need, you're entitled to that too. Maybe your need is unreasonable. Maybe your want or your preference is unreasonable. Maybe, but that begets conversation. That will be their response to you, that they feel that your preference, your need, your want is unreasonable to spend the entire day together. So that sounded like there was inherent judgment there, which I didn't mean there to be. You're certainly entitled to spend the entire together if you want to. So, but then you either express your emotion, say, "Oh wow, I'm really bummed out about that. I'm really disappointed. Oh, that makes me sad," or say or follow with, "I really want to spend the whole day. I really that's my preference. That's what I feel like is my need today, like to spend the whole day with you. Like I really want that. I'm feeling like I'm needing that right now from you." And that's okay. Look, then we can have a dialogue. It's okay for you to have a need. It is okay for you to have a want or a preference, and to communicate, or an emotion, and to communicate that directly, right? It's when you don't feel like you're entitled to communicate it directly that you're going to find a covert way to communicate it. And it may come off not well, right? Just any attempt to be not direct, to be indirect, is not helpful. It's not helpful if it comes off, because it may come off passive aggressively. It's not helpful because it's somebody's trying to interpret what you're trying to say, to decode what you're trying to say. And it's not fair for somebody to have to do that either. Okay, so I hope that makes sense.